From a performance management perspective, it is quite interesting because in various sectors you'll have blue collar workers and you have white collar workers that you know the way they measure performance is a little bit different with regard to that. So when we look at performance management, we tend to look at it. It depends on the company that you're in, but we tend to, in most cases, it tends to be more reactive, right? So, meaning that I looked at what you did, and now I'm going to potentially give you an increase, or I'm going to give you a bonus based on what you did, right? Whereas for more progressive companies looking into the future, we're looking at performance management in a far different way, meaning that I'm looking at performance management to say that how can I get the best out of my employee? Because if I get the best out of employee, it is going to be far better for my organization because I am getting talent, I am improving my talent, and by my employee being more talented, there is far less risk for my organization because my employee is more talented. And it's that kind of mind shift change that companies need to bring in to make certain that we do. So let's take logistics, for example. You have a truck driver, practical, right? If a truck driver is in a lot of accidents, that is a problem for our business, right? So what do I have to do from a performance perspective to make certain that my truck driver is in fewer accidents? Is that there's clearly a problem. So we have to obviously investigate that. But if you think that's a retrospective way of doing things, but if we think proactively, we're going and saying, okay, we need our truck drivers to not be in accidents. So how do we make certain that we don't have that? So we need to make certain that our drivers are well trained, right? That there's regular training interventions that come into play. That we may want to look at things like, um, you know, check-ins, if I can put it that way, to make certain that drivers aren't falling asleep because they're driving potentially for 12 hours in a day. Um, that we check to make certain that people still enjoy the job, and those kind of things where you're putting in certain things in place to make certain that the performance going forward is improved because that's what you're wanting to achieve. That we could potentially have products delivered at a quicker time because the driver is more skilled, that they maybe know how to drive through certain really tricky areas far better because they actually have the experience of knowing how to drive through tricky areas, knowing how to check that your truck's tires are fine, for example. Because we're not always going to have somebody that is going to be that's a specialist in vehicle maintenance or tire maintenance, that is going to be with that particular driver. And then your truck, has a blowout, and you had no idea that that was coming, but the signs were there, for days already. So, from a performance perspective, those are the kind of things that you start instituting. Is like training on how to do vehicle maintenance, not vehicle checks, should I say, so that you can preempt that something is going to happen. So it's important that you rethink performance management, for your organization, that it's no longer just a reactive thing, but try to be more proactive, because inevitably it speaks to how you can mitigate costs that will inevitably incur if you are not proactive but rather reactive. And having these kind of performance management tools in place, you can get dashboarding customized for your organization as well, and to see, has the person been trained, who needs to have up and coming training that needs to come into place, what is something that is a regular occurrence, where has there been certain KPIs that may have been missed, with an employee, and how do we use these tools to bring in certain interventions to make certain that going forward, this never happens again.